Stanley Matthew Deluce. His development of a small commuter airline in Northern Ontario, which led to one of the largest regional airlines in Canada, serving both nationally and internationally, has been of great benefit to aviation in Canada. Stanley Matthew Deluce was born July 20, 1923, in Chapleau, Ontario, and he was educated there. He enlisted in the RCAF in 1941 and was posted to 126 Squadron. From 1943 to 1945, he was assigned to maritime patrol, flying Hawker Hurricanes, escorting ships through the Northumberland Strait to Newfoundland. After the war, Stan Deluce returned to Chapleau. In 1947, he earned a commercial pilot's license with float endorsement and bought his first aircraft, a Fleet Canuck. He could now unite his love of flying with his love for hunting and fishing, and make a living at the same time. He married Angela Spadoni in 1947, the beginning of a lifelong partnership. Their family-run business was born in 1951 with the purchase of a Stinson aircraft and the incorporation of White River Air Services. They soon added a Cessna 180 to their operations, and seeing its potential as a bush plane, Deluce opened a Cessna dealership, which he ran for 25 years. Stan Deluce is widely admired for his entrepreneurial spirit. In 1960, he purchased both Sioux Airways and Kapuskasing Air Services and began the first scheduled air service between Kapuskasing and Timmins. Next, he bought Georgian Bay Airways, which was based in Moose Factory and South Porcupine. From 1961 to 1975, Deluce operated the first contracted weather reporting station in Ontario at White River for the federal government, and a second station at Chapleau, which he operated from 1962 to 1975. In 1971, White River Air Services was awarded the Nor-Ontaire contract with the Ontario government to provide scheduled service to Sudbury, Timmins, Sault Ste. Marie, and Earlton. To service their growing fleet, they built a maintenance facility at Timmins. At peak times, they owned 12 Twin Otters, the largest twin operation in Canada. They hired a retired CP Air pilot, Archie Van Hee, as their chief training pilot on the Nor-Ontaire operations. Stan Deluce's keen business acumen was demonstrated once again in 1974 when White River Air Services purchased Austin Airways. This was Canada's oldest airline, which was started by Jack Austin in 1934. Austin was a friend and business associate of the Deluce family. They kept the Austin name because of its historical significance, but moved the whole operation to Timmins. Deluce became president of the company. White River Air Services and Austin Airways combined were operating mixed fleets of over 40 aircraft, with land, float, and amphibious capabilities. In 1975, with the purchase of its first turbine-powered 50-seat Hawker Siddeley 748, the company moved from a large bush operation to become one of the fastest-growing commuter carriers on the continent. The company bought 18 Hawker Siddeley 748s, making it the largest fleet of this type in the Western Hemisphere, contributing significantly to the concept of regional airlines. Continuing to expand, in 1976, Deluce purchased several more small air service companies. A large hangar facility was built at Pickle Lake to support their new operations. Deluce's airlines were now doing both charter and scheduled operations all over North America. In addition, they began to operate as far afield as Denmark, France, Tunisia, and Nepal. In partnership with Aviation Aviation, they operated water bombers for fire suppression in Canada, Chile, and Norway. During this time, the Austin operation was extended to serve all Ontario, northern Quebec, Baffin Island, and the eastern Arctic, with charter flights ranging as far as Greenland. Deluce's companies made enormous contributions to many northern Aboriginal communities. Provision of air services to the Cree along the Quebec coast of James Bay in some of the most hostile of flying environments led to a partnership with them in Air Quebec. Deluce served as vice president of this company for several years. His example and mentorship helped make this company a success. The company provided training and job opportunities for Native youths as pilots, dispatchers, and engineers. In 1979, with a contract to serve the Ontario Ministry of Health, Austin Airways developed the first jet aircraft medevac operation in Northern Ontario. The Austin service area was also expanded to provide service to Toronto. Under Deluce's direction, 36 de Havilland-8 aircraft were added, the largest single commercial order that de Havilland had ever received. In 1980, White River Air Services acquired 50% ownership of both Air Manitoba and Air Ontario. Deluce became chairman of the board of Air Ontario. In the mid-1980s, the company sold to Air Canada the majority of its interests in Austin Airways and Air Ontario. Deluce remained as chairman of the combined company for 2 more years. Stan Deluce served as director of the Air Transport Association of Canada for 2 terms and was a member of the Civil Aviation Tribunal from 1986 to 1989. It is important to note that he started White River Air Services with his wife Angela. Over time, all of their 9 children worked alongside them in the companies they operated as pilots or administration or both. Stan Deluce was named an Outstanding Aviation Pioneer in 1993 by the Rusty Blakey Heritage Aviation Group. Here shown with his 7 sons after the ceremony, he was made an honorary life member of the Air Transport Association in 1988. Deluce demonstrated the highest standards of personal and business integrity and was widely known and respected as a man whose word could be trusted implicitly. He established a legacy in which his priorities were sense of family and commitment to aviation, a legacy which is carried on with the recent startup of Porter Airlines in Toronto by his son Robert. Stan Deluce retired in 1988, but continued to serve on several boards for a few more years. He lives in London, Ontario, in the house he and Angela built, surrounded by family and friends. Sadly, Angela passed away in 2006 after 59 years of marriage. Stan continues to enjoy spending time with his family. Stanley Matthew Deluce was inducted as a member of Canada's Aviation Hall of Fame at ceremonies held in Ottawa on June 6, 2007.